What's good, y'all? So let this video serve as a reminder to some of you to not be afraid to learn lessons from your lower self, to not be afraid to go into your dark side, to see life from a different perspective, right? I'm not saying to completely give yourself over to the lower side and your dark side or anything like that. And I'm also not saying to allow the things that have once crippled you to creep their way back into your world. No, if you did meth, I wouldn't advise you let your dark side win when it says, hey, yo, just do a little bit of meth, bro. Yeah, you like the good old times. No. You got to practice discernment with the things that random people on the internet are saying to you, all right? But what I am saying is things that you know that you can recover from, things that you know that you can bounce back from, things that you have enough discipline to say, okay, 1 week is all we get. Now we do whatever we can do in this week, and then we go from there. For example, let me give you my personal example, and then we'll branch off into more broad conversation. This week was an experimentation week for me, where I experimented with my diet. Now, for those of you that are new to my channel that don't know nothing about me, it's like I eat a plant-based diet, right? Fruits, vegetables, grains, that type of stuff. And of course, I'm always learning more, and I'm always tailoring my diet when new information comes into my world. Very simple. But one of the things that I always wonder is, and this is something that's just like an existential thing that always happens with me, but like I always ask myself, is the way that I'm living life worth it, right? Because the way I live my life is very monk-like. It's very, choir boy-esque. It's very, strict rules, strict regimen. And even though I set these rules for myself, there's still a piece of my brain that has to break every single rule that's placed in front of me in some shape, form, or fashion. So I even break the rules that I placed on myself. But who better to break them than me? You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, this week I allowed myself to eat whatever I wanted, and I ate whenever I wanted and how much I wanted. The thing is, even though my body felt like shit, even though I haven't felt sick in a long time until I ate like all these fried foods and foods with cheeses in them and foods that had egg in them and soy and stuff like this, even though my body felt gross, even though I had to literally go lay down on a bench because my body was accumulating so much extra waste, I'm thankful for that moment because I allowed myself to see what would happen if. How many times are our lives stunted by our what ifs? What if? Well, my biggest thing that always gets me to do certain things is what if I never find out the answer to XYZ? So what would it feel like if I went back and ate a quote, regular person's diet? What would my body feel like if? Because then now that I've gone through that experiment, I can now gauge in my own world, do I want to continue this behavior? Do I need to make some changes? Or do I need to completely scrap this behavior, right? So for me personally, I knew that I need to actually get back on my health regimen. There's a reason why I do what I do, because I legitimately like the way that my body feels when I'm fasting. I like the way my body feels when I'm empty. You see what I'm saying? Yes, don't get me wrong. The quick instant gratification of eating something that is bad for you, but it tastes so good, it's nice. There's an aspect of life that needs to be enjoyed there, right? But when you see someone that's living in the health conscious world versus someone that doesn't give a damn about what they put into their bodies, there's certain things to be extrapolated from both sides. And how would I have seen that? How would I have gotten the first-hand view of this if I didn't put myself through it? You see what I'm saying? Some people be like, oh no, I am working on my light body, and that's your goal. Do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? But some people, like I said, one of my favorite phrases that I got from Brother Yosef, don't be so high and mighty that you're no earthly good. Right now I'm at the beach. You know what I'm saying? I'm chilling here, getting my exercise in, getting my sunbathing in, sun gazing in, getting my thoughts on video recorded and such. You know what I'm saying? But I'm surrounded by a bunch of sand, for example, right? And this is the same stuff we walk on. Well, don't be so high and mighty that you're no earthly good. Let's put this in very basic terms. A bird that's flying up there, or doing the helicopter, or doing the jet, that's flying hundreds of thousands of feet in the air, cannot properly articulate what's going on in the sand down here. Sometimes you have to lower yourself, quote, quote, lower yourself in your level so you can get down to earth and actually be like, oh, wow, there's different little tiny little rocks in here. Oh, there's little critters walking around here. Oh, this sand is hotter than the sand over there. This sand is more compacted than the sand over here. These are things that you're not going to be able to easily tell if you don't live life from a lower perspective, if you don't get so-called grounded, as we talk about in the spiritual and conscious community, to get into a sense of balance, right? It's like you've been flying so long that you forgot how to land. You know, I'm flying. Okay, well, come onto the landing strip. Time to land. How do I land? No, I'm one with the air. I'm flying. I don't want to touch the ground. You see, that's when you get off balance. You see what I'm saying? So for me personally, I do think it's important to sometimes experiment with the opposite of whatever it is that you're doing. If you've been on a really good health kick, sometimes you need to see what your body feels like when you go back to your old habits. For me, it's obvious. When I'm eating milk, when I'm eating dairy products, eggs, that type of stuff, my body not only feels sluggish, but I can feel the acid. I can feel the mucus. When I wake up in the morning, I do and there's actually a mucus back there. I'm like, is that mucus? Oh my God. That to me is extremely obvious. But then even when I'm eating like a mini bag of chips or cookies or something like that, my chest gets hot, like acid reflux or heartburn. My stomach feels queasy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so for me, I'm like, okay, I can now use my experiences from my lower self to now calibrate how I need to act. Sometimes it propels you into the opposite direction. Your lower self might propel you like a slingshot into your higher self. And sometimes you might be like, well, damn, sometimes I feel like I'm ruining my life by doing this. And this is something that I deal with a lot. It's like, yes, I eat clean. Yes, I practice celibacy. Yes, the semen retention stuff. Yes, it's like instead of listening to like the typical music that people watch in movies and stuff, I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to lecturers from like the early 1900s. I'm reading books from people from before then, and sometimes that makes me feel extremely lonely, right? So me doing the counterbalance is that, okay, if I'm operating from this high and mighty frequency, well, why do I feel like this? Maybe I should just take a quick step back and see what life is like on the other side. So I'll spend the weekend watching a bunch of movies. I'll spend the weekend listening to some stupid music. I'll spend the weekend doing this. And sometimes I realize, damn, that was actually enjoyable. I should incorporate a little bit of this into my day-to-day life so I don't feel that burden of being alone on this spiritual journey all the time. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying to get into your lower self to fit in or anything like that. I'm just saying, what brings you the most happiness? We're all different. Yes, I like to be alone, but sometimes I get too alone. It's like, damn, I haven't spoken to anybody in like 2 weeks, bro. Damn, I haven't felt so much as a handshake or a hug from a friend in a long time. Like, that type of stuff eats at me because, like, in my high and mighty stage, I'm protecting my energy. I'm protecting my sexual energy, my life force energy with the semen retention stuff. So there's parts of me that says, like, even with the semen retention stuff, there's parts of me that's like, okay, I now see what life looks like on this side, but there's going to be a point where I have to experiment with the other side and be like, okay, what is my life like back in the regular way of living the life as a quote, quote man? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what does my life feel like when I'm doing this? Oh, it feels perfectly fine. I've actually learned so much from the semen retention side of my life that I can find the balance with this. Or, wow, my body feels weak. I feel drained. I feel this and that. Blah, 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 blah. So I shouldn't be doing this anymore because now I know better. Not just from my practice on the higher self version of my life, but seeing as I've compared it with the lower version of myself, I'm like, now that I've compared both sides, I can find where I want my little meter to be in between those, my little light dimmer switch. Once again, all opposites are the same. It's just a degree of expression, hot and cold, left and right, up and down. When you have less cold, you have more height, more. We have less cold, you have more hot, essentially, right? If you have less darkness, you have more light. It's a dimmer switch. So just find two opposites. If you want to be health freak or, junk food eater, okay, which side of that, that meter do you want to be on? Just adjust it to wherever is most conducive to wherever you are in life. And guess what? Sometimes you have to revisit things. So something that you swore, like, I want to be vegan, I'm going to eat salad every day, and yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, cool. Now question it. Okay, now let's just say if you're someone that ate meat, do you like meat? Does it bring you satisfaction? Does it make your body feel good? Does it bring you satisfaction in life? Yes. Okay, then maybe incorporate a little bit of it. Or no, every time I eat meat, I notice how sluggish I get. I realize my blood pressure gets higher when I eat a lot of meat. Blah 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 happens when I eat. You see what I'm saying? Just gauge it wherever it makes sense to you. Like I've always said, I've been a huge proponent for learning from everything. I can learn from my ally as much as I can learn from my enemy, because your allies are here for you. They're here to support you, but you will never learn the lesson of what it feels like to be attacked by an ally. Your ally will never attack you. So how would you have learned the lesson of how to defend yourself from attack if you're only surrounded by your allies? Sometimes you need to learn from your opposition. Sometimes you need to learn from yourself, your higher self and your lower self. Sometimes you need to learn from the quote bad things to make sure that you can live a good life, right? I mean, think about it. Some of us have never experienced true poverty. You know what I'm saying? You never had to worry about where your last meal came from. But it's like when you see a homeless person, for example, sometimes you have to live it. Sometimes you can just see someone else do it. Okay, they're homeless. Do I want to live a life like that? Fuck no. Hell no. I like my Xbox. I like my computer. I like my refrigerator full of my favorite snacks and drinks and such. You see what I'm saying? It's like I like these types of things, but it's like, but you have to learn from the quote bad things of life. But here's the other thing too. It's like, using that example, using like homeless people, I look at them sometimes, I'm like, okay, what do they do? In the situation where like the world goes to shit, how do they do? Okay, so he posted up behind there because that blocked the wind from those two directions. And there's also, an escape route for him, but also it's a corner that he could put all of his stuff in that would minimize the chance of his stuff getting stolen by somebody else. Okay, so sometimes you don't even have to go fully fledged into the dark side to see it, but you need to be able to acknowledge when something is in the opposite paradigm from where you're standing. I live in the world of wealth, abundance. Everything I want comes to me. That person lives in the world where they have to fight and they have to they have to scrape by for the most meager of sustenance, for example. I don't want to live that life, but I see it. And I know that that's my polar opposite. So I'm going to learn from it. I'm not going to just cover my eyes, but that's like me, that some of the things I think about when it comes to my children. When there's tough things going on in the world, yes, I get there's some things that you want to, protect your children from. But there's certain things I'm like, nah, look at it. You know what I'm saying? Not to get morbid, but it's just where my mind goes. Once again, my light and dark mix sometimes. But you see like a gruesome car accident or something like that. Oh, don't look at that, sweetie. Don't look at that. Sometimes you need to know that life can be dangerous. Sometimes you need to learn that lesson early. It's your job as a parent, though, to balance it. Okay, you saw what that was. Now, let's explain how that came about and why you shouldn't be afraid of it, but you should be aware that that is a possibility of things that can happen when you get behind the wheel. I'm not doing this to scare you. I'm doing this to inform you. Sometimes you have to learn the hard lessons. These are things that I think about, like how I'm going to raise my kids and all that type of stuff, because this is how I treat myself. I don't want to be hidden from anything. I don't want the truth to be hidden from me. Even if the truth hurts, I want to know it. Using myself as an example, my past relationships, when I knew stuff was over, I didn't want to make the assumption. I didn't want to come with the accusations. I just waited for life to deliver me the answer that I already knew. But hey, when you have to ask, you already know the answer. Quick little gem. If you're someone that has to go through your significant other's phone, you've already lost. Because either your intuition is telling you that something isn't on the up and up, or you are so insecure that you got somebody good and being loyal to you and you still question it. You're trying to ruin your own relationship. For some of you, and some of you need to end the relationship because they've been cheating on you since the first week you were dating. Now that wasn't from personal experience, but you see what I'm saying. It's just that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Life is life. Life isn't good. Life isn't bad. those are words that we in our limited understanding of this thing that we call life, use to label something that we are experiencing. Oh, my life was so good at this point. My life was so bad at this point. Well, why is it that you're only learning the good things, or why is it that you only tend to learn from life when things are going good in your life? But when things are going bad, you just want to numb the pain with drugs and alcohol, sex, video games. Sometimes you can use the gym too much. Instead of working on your problems, you're just working on. Don't get me wrong, it's a better place to use it than other things, you know what I'm saying? But like when you're just in there burning yourself down, wearing down your muscles, like creating wear and tear on your joints and such because you refuse to deal with your problems, you're just replacing one thing with another. Yes, exercise is good for you, and then it can be. But if it doesn't have a foundation of good intent, then nothing will be. I mean, food, like a chef. A chef can chop up and make up all the food all day, by bing, by boom, but it brings that person enjoyment, fulfillment out of life. They love it when other people appreciate their work. You know what I'm saying? So food is their thing. But if you're eating because you're stressed and you just want to feel better and you're eating your frozen yogurt while watching Sex in the City or some shit, you know what I'm saying? Then at that point, there's something that started off good now has a negative connotation, a negative intention. That's what it's based off of. So you're not eating to nourish your body, you're eating to suppress a bad feeling. This is why it's very important to have a good grip of your higher self and your lower self. Me, I made it easier by splitting them into two different personalities. Now, I'm not saying like, oh, that was Prince talking. Oh, that was Oliver talking. That's only happened a couple of times in my life. But nevertheless, it's like I labeled mine. And I know when I'm acting like one or the other, right? To be quite honest with you, sometimes I feel that my higher self wins too much. Sometimes I want to enjoy the physical life. Sometimes I want to enjoy the things going on around me. And sometimes I allow myself to do it. Sometimes to my benefit, sometimes to my detriment. Sometimes I try something, I'm like, damn, I just had to do that, didn't I? And now I'm paying the cost. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm so happy I did that because blah, 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 blah. For example, like sometimes life will just put you in certain situations. And if I were to listen to just my light side, I would have never stepped foot into that club bar, for example. You know what I'm saying? I like a nice little quiet, solitary life, but sometimes you need to change it up. Sometimes you need to break your routine to make sure you're still, it's almost like to make sure you're on the right track. It's kind of like a status report, if you will, like a status update. Like instead of like your ending report card, it's a progress report. Okay, let's experiment with this real quick. So with my diet, I've been eating clean. Now I'm going to eat like trash. Oh, I feel sick. Oh, I feel gross. Oh, I can't. Oh, I'm sleeping in more. Oh, I'm doing this. Okay, I now know that I need to stay more on that side, but at least I tested it. I wasn't too scared to go here. Oh, but if I do that and such, then this is going to happen. Yeah, we can be worried about the consequences all the time, but then there's also the fact that we all have our own lives. We all have our own paths to walk, and we all have to make different decisions based off of our own individual journeys. Don't be so high and mighty that you're so earthly, that you're no earthly good. Don't be so head up in the stars. Don't get this little complex of, oh, I'm awakened. I'm an enlightened being. I'm a chosen one. I'm a star seed, so I'm better than you. And every time I tell you something, you better listen because I'm chosen. Blah, 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 blah. No, I mean, sure, you're going to want to share what you know with people, and they're going to ignore you. That's part of it, But it's still in certain aspects, like a lot of us are still young, So don't get me wrong. I forget that I'm still in my 20s. I forget often, and I start comparing myself to people in their 50s and their 60s because I don't see time. So I compare myself to what I aspire to be like. Right now it's Monday, and I'm at the beach. There's people out here in their boats. There's people out here with their families. This is what I want my life to be like. I want to be able to go to the beach like this. I want to be able to go do whatever it is that I want on no matter what day it is, simply because I have the availability to do such. I'm only off right now because I get 4-day weekends, like 10 days on, 4 days off. But I get to take it. I get to see my future phasing into my world every single day. For example, the hotel I'm about to be moving into, after this stay, is that the hotel that I'm going to is actually, I'm getting like an executive suite that we got through business connections of people on our site. I'm going to be staying, like basically damn near staying in the penthouse. And that's just where I'm going to be at, hopefully, if everything like falls into place nicely. But nevertheless, it's like I'm watching my life phase in as I want to. But of course, I always have to tailor it. I always have to make sure that, okay, the life that I was manifesting a year ago, that I haven't gotten my manifestation yet, do I still want it? And sometimes you have to live life on the opposite to make sure that you know that you still indeed do want this thing to come into your life like solid, to come into fruition, But anyway, I guess to summarize everything is, don't be too scared to go into your lower self. Don't be afraid to go into your dark side to learn lessons, right? It's all you at the end of the day. Your lower self is you. Your higher self is you. Your dark self is you. Your light self is you. They say ancient principles, as above, so below. So the same lessons I can learn from above, I can also learn from below. So why would I block myself off from half of the knowledge when I can use both sides of the pie? Till the next one, y'all. Peace.